Happy Halloween, everybody. Welcome to our grand finale of Halloween season 2024 of Hops Geek News. I am Matt. With me, as always, is Lauren. And today we are going to be talking about the 1976 Stephen King film, Carrie. Not my wife, even though sometimes she gets really angry and I'm very worried that she's going to start stabbing me with knives with her telekinesis, but the film. And we got a lot of good stuff, man. This film has a lot of cool things behind the scenes, and so there's lots to discuss, if you will. But it's Halloween week. It's finally, this month went by so fast, and I just got back from. Actually, by the time this episode airs, I'm still in Florida because my plane doesn't take off till the afternoon. So hopefully you followed us on social media, Hops Geek News everywhere, and then same with the podcasting platforms. Find us every week on Nerd Initiative. And if this is your first time, we go into some introductions. We do what we're drinking this week. We go into what we've messed up on or looked into, reading, watching, some news, and then our main topic. My beer comes all the way from the Portugal Beer Museum. It's called I See Hazy
Hey, I've been
People.
there.
Yes, I brought this one home. It's a nice hazy IPA at 6.7, brewed with Phantasm. I figured since we're talking about Carrie and some really cool spooky stuff, there's eyeballs in a glass, a girl on the can art with flowers over her eyes. It's a pretty good hazy, and it was really cool getting to go to that beer museum. So that's what I am drinking. Lauren, what are you drinking?
So I hauled butt and just grabbed a beer, but I got a good one. I got a Halloweeny one. I got an East Rock pumpkin lager from our very dear friend
Oh, that's a
Stacy.
good one.
So this is a rich amber lager crafted with real pumpkin and a blend of cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, ginger, mace, and clove. That's a lot of spices, but it doesn't taste overly spiced. Honestly, all the pumpkin beers I've had this year have actually been really good. Whereas in the past, I feel like the evolution of pumpkin beers, I feel like they started to get overly sweet and then they got better. But I have it in my bloody wine glass.
Oh,
So I used to drink a lot more wine before there was 8 billion different kinds of amazing beers. So I made these glasses years ago for Halloween where I literally just got glass paint and just poured red paint all around. And then I used to take them out when I would watch Dexter. And guess what? Dexter New Blood is coming out in December. So I can use these then
you
too.
can use it again. Yeah. So by the way, if this is the last you ever hear of me, it's because Lauren took me tailgating back-to-back days after we just spent a day at Disney. So Friday we spent a day at Disney, which we'll talk about next week, and then probably some drinking around the world as much as I can get there. I know they are going to be doing so. Then we tailgated the UCF game. Then we probably went to some fall festival stuff at some breweries so the kids can get some fun out. And then Sunday was the Green Bay Packer game, which we tailgated. So I might actually be dead. You thought I was bad at MegaCon. I might actually die this weekend. But we'll see.
We'll
I'm bringing a bottle
get
of
you a
bourbon
bagel
down
with
to
some hair in it
ski.
again.
That's,
What?
actually,
Oh, for ski. Okay. I was like, hold your horses. You're getting out of control.
it is very hard to find bourbon,
Although
John
I
J.
have been
Bone.
saying I wanted to try some bourbon.
So I'm bringing it down to share because Erica's bringing pumpkin spice liquor, and I figured I'd bring a nice bougie bottle of bourbon for people to try and drink because it's very hard to find, very hard to get. So you know what? Let's get festive with it. And so that's what happened our weekend. Let's go into. I thought Deadpool and Wolverine updates were over. Lauren, what is
Nope.
this?
So Deadpool and Wolverine is now 12th domestically, beating out Barbie, and it has finally moved to the 20th position, beating out Star Wars Episode 8 of
Wow,
all-time highest grossing movies. Still
that's
moving up
really
in this world.
impressive. Wow, how is it
I
still
know, I
going?
love
I'm
it.
kind of impressed.
Till they're 90.
That's true. This movie's literally gonna have legs till it's number one in the world. Yeah. So let's go into what we've been reading or watching. I kind of have a laundry list this week because I've been doing a lot of falling asleep to horror movies on the couch because I've been having sleeping problems. I don't know why. I just haven't been able to sleep up much lately. So I put on a horror movie such as Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or some Friday the 13th movie. Something about those are comfort movies to me. I can just snuggle up on my little blanket with the nice Halloween blankets I got on the couch. My couch is amazingly comfortable.
Visions of people getting stabbed in your
I
head.
just, yeah, well, they're like comfort films. I'm just like, falling asleep to topless women getting stabbed through the chest by an angry guy with mom issues. What could be better? So I've been watching a lot of those. But I have read a lot of stuff, such as DC Horror Presents, issue number 1 of 4. This one there's 2 short stories inside, one of which David Dastmalchian had a chance to write. Very bloody. This one is about the doll maker and his daughter. It was, dude, she's brutal in this book. The other one was about the Amazonians at Themyscira and there's like some zombie action going on. So this was a very
Oh.
horror book. If you're looking for like a short read for Halloween, man, pick this one up at your comic book shop. Then we have Green Lantern Dark, which is issue number 1 as well. This is another good one because it basically follows along the line of, the DC vampires things that they're doing, except for Solomon Grundy has kind of created monsters and taken over the world. And there's a Green Lantern left who they say is responsible, but they don't really go into why she's responsible for what happened. But she's out there kicking ass, and it's dark, it's grim, it's hopeless, but at the same time, there's still some hope sprinkled into it. Aside from that, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Jason Aaron run with man, so good, so good. This one focused on Leonardo. He is out there looking for peace. He finds an island in the middle of nowhere where he's just protecting the sea turtles, funny enough, from poachers until,
Oh,
bad guys
I
come.
love that.
Yeah, it was really cool. But this one eventually is now tying in. All the brothers are going to be getting together. We all saw where each brother was because they were all kind of spread out apart. So going from there, uh, Lauren and I did do Armored from our friend Michael Schwartz, which
I
our
have your
wit comes
copy
out.
right here.
What a guy, dude.
What?
He's the best. I love
Well,
him so
so
much.
I got to meet Michael at New York Comic Con, and he didn't have a booth, but he was, going around passing out stickers, meeting people. Super duper sweet guy. I loved recording with him. We had a great conversation. He sent us issues 1 and 2, and then he had the issue 3. He's like, "I'll just give it to you at New York," and then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to mail Matt his." I'm like, "I'm going to see Matt next week. Just give me Matt's." And then we ran into him right before the Ghost Machine panel, and him and Ken started talking. And Ken told him, once issue 5 comes out, come on Tapped. And he'll get to come on there and talk the whole Armored comic. But yeah, so we just read issue
That's so
3, and
cool.
you wrote the review mainly. I just did a blurb.
We did. I mean, we talked the review. Honestly, I talked to Michael just about every day since we've recorded. Truthfully, we chat via Instagram just about every day. He's such a sweet dude. Killer writer. Honestly, this comic is really great. I felt like issue 3 really cranked up some mystery action. We can't really trust the parents. We don't really know what's going on. Andy and his ghost pal William kind of unearthed some things in his parents' case as well. And so Zombie Miles showed up at the end. Seriously,
He
it's
looked
it's from Clover
creepy.
Press. Yeah. And issue 4 is gonna have a lot more Zombie Miles, is what I've been told. So be on the lookout. Armored is really good. It's such a fun story and a fun read, and the art is really great too. So take
Oh,
the
the art is
time,
so
check that
pretty.
out.
It's like watercolor, and oh my gosh, the demon. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Miles guy just looked so next level creepy.
His eyes were missing. Oh man, it was so cool. I did read "The Moon Is Following Us" from Daniel Warren Johnson and Image Comics. That book is good. The first book was very action packed. This one took it back to show us why Penny, or what happened. Basically, she's stuck in like this sleep paralysis, and that's when the parents got to
Sounds
go to her
terrible.
dream world. Yeah, it was so good. This was very much like an emotional, like, hey, all right, we started off strong. We're gonna take a step back. We're going to explain kind of what's going on, give you some backstory before the war with the Cascade kind of kicks off again. And I really another fantastic. Riley Rossmo's doing the artwork. Cannot recommend The Moon Is Following Us enough. Frankenstein issue number 3, also from Image and Skybound and Universal Pictures. This is the penultimate issue, I should say, before number 4 wraps things up. Again, another, hey, we're going to focus on, some of the side characters and really get in depth emotionally before we kind of wrap up the story of Frankenstein. I've been loving Universal Monsters, and I think Frankenstein's been my favorite so far. You got to check that out. And then, like I said, Carrie, which we're going to talk about today. And I've just been
Keep
falling
getting
asleep.
confused, thinking you're talking about your wife.
Yes,
It's
we're
gonna be
doing
a
a
fun
whole
episode.
episode on my wife. But that's what
You're
I've
gonna
been
have to
doing.
specify
So
Carrie with a K or Carrie with a C.
we're talking Carrie with the C
Uh,
today.
yes. So I read some stuff on the plane because I was at New York Comic Con. I caught up on some Geiger. I caught up on Spectrograph. That was a creepy one, and it left with an
Yeah.
ending that I'm very excited for the next one. That's Christian Ward, who we've had on the show, which I did not get to meet this week, and I saw him a couple times, and just kind of there was so much going on.
Oh, yeah.
Wayward Witches. So I did watch season 1 last week to get ready for the panel, and then I got to watch the first episode of season 2 at New York Comic Con. It comes out January 5th, 2025. It was pretty good, very creepy. I got to do the press panel for that. If you want more on that, they have a whole article on Nerd Initiative, so I won't go through all of it again since that's up there.
Ooh.
The Franchise. Have you heard about this show
No, I haven't.
on
What is the
HBO?
franchise?
Okay,
No?
so it's apparently already streaming on HBO. I didn't realize that. I thought we were watching the first episode and this was new at the con, but we watched an episode and then the cast came out. Cast
Ooh.
includes Aya Cash, who was Stormfront. You
Oh,
got
yeah.
the actor who played Baron Zemo, and there's a few other. Oh, Old Man Loki's in it. So there's a few other
That's Daniel
recognizable
Bruhl
faces.
is Baron Zemo. Thank you very much.
Oh, I see. I couldn't. Do you remember Old Man Loki's name? I
I
should remember
I
him. He's a
I
legit
actually
actor
don't
too.
know.
Who's also the bad guy in Logan. So this is a comedy that is making fun of superhero movies, but it's not just making fun of the people behind the movies, it's also making fun of the fans of the movies, and it is absolutely hilarious. So the episode that we watched at the con was called The Women Issue, and there's a guy who looks strangely familiar, like he could be Kevin Feige, and he's wearing a baseball hat, even though they even said
Interesting.
in the panel when the actors came out, they're like, so we know that there are some characters that there are direct nods to, even though that actual person is nothing like the character you're portraying. And I'm like, that is, they're 100% talking about the dude who looks like Kevin Feige with his hat
Oh,
on.
yeah.
But they're like, oh, how could, this, we have a women issue. I'm not misogynistic at all. Sure, I had one sexist commercial 20 years ago. And then they're like, we got to make the woman more powerful. You can't just make things up. It has to be comic book accurate. It's all made up. So it's funny. It's really funny.
That sounds
So
exciting. I'm
that's
gonna have to check that out.
100% you have to check it out, and we should even, like, yeah, do a little
We
review of it
should.
later,
We'll
maybe
have to
once
do
it's
something on it,
over.
yeah.
And the only other thing I watched is I actually watched SNL at Tracy's because Sunday, Tracy and I did not go into the city and have an exciting day. We went out and had a
She
lovely
lives in the
lunch.
city, though.
She lives in Brooklyn, and we had big plans of doing things, but she took a red eye home, and I spent 3 days at the con, so we laid on the couch and watched SNL, and SNL is the best when it's political season.
It
Even if some of the
is
skits you're like, "They're not even exaggerating, this is real life."
it's
It's still
sad.
funny.
It really is kinda sad, but it is really great, especially the actors have stepped their game up, but also, like, after 3 days at a con, like, 4 days at a convention is too much in my opinion because I need a day of rest, my mans. I'm tired, and so there's
When
nothing wrong
Thursday
with
was a
laying on the couch.
full day, you know how, like,
Yeah,
MegaCon is, like, an
but you
afternoon on Thursday? This was a
you got
full
off the
day, yeah, and
plane
I
and
flew
went
in that
right to work.
morning. Yeah, but it was fantastic that they have a bag check. So I literally brought, like, I took off my big, like, personal item, took my lounge fly out of there, shoved that into my suitcase, shoved my giant jacket in my suitcase, and they put it through an X-ray machine, and I checked it for $4 at bag check.
I
Best
mean,
$4 I've ever spent.
cannot beat that, honestly.
And
That
I was
worked
not the
out
only
pretty
one. There was a
nicely.
ton of suitcases in there. And then Tom
Yeah.
checked his suitcase the last day.
Yeah, I mean, that makes
So,
perfect
yeah.
sense to do, honestly, but yeah, let's go into some news, such
Yeah,
as
we've got a lot of news.
Fallout Season 2 will actually begin filming in November, which is a lot sooner than I expected, especially because it's an
That
Amazon
is
show and they like to
soon.
take their time.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but who knows when it will actually come out? Because I feel like The Boys has, like, already been done for a minute, and they still have to edit. Maybe not the next season, maybe think, but I always feel like their post-production takes a while. But they also had a strike last year.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. But I am glad. I am really excited because this show is so good. So I cannot wait for season two.
Was
Tom
really good.
Holland's in the news. What couple of reasons. First of all, he's obviously going to be in the Christopher Nolan's next film in 2026, meaning he's going to be in like two Avengers films that year, or Spider Man, Avengers, and Christopher Nolan's film. However, what is the other bit of news that he's in the news for?
So we also have some beer news, which I love when superheroes and beer cross over. So I actually read or I saw an interview with him not too long ago, and he basically was saying that, like, he went really hard with alcohol during the holidays, like a lot of us do, and he just drank lots. So he's like, I'm going to do dry January, and then he found himself craving alcohol more than he expected while he was doing dry January, and he's like, okay, I didn't realize felt like I needed alcohol so much. I'm going to try to do dry February too, and he just kept going, and he 2 years later that he's still sober. And, like,
Good
he
for
never,
him.
like, hit, yeah, rock bottom or anything, obviously. Like, you've never heard terrible stories about him. He was just like, "Oh, I'm drinking too much," and he stopped. So, since all the celebrities are doing this now, he has launched a line of non-alcoholic beer called Bero, Bero, and, it's gonna have all different kinds of, hazy IPAs, pilsners, all sorts of different styles of beer. Really hoping it's good. I'd really like the non-alcoholic beer game to get better.
Oh, I
Of course, they
agree.
have to, figure out different things when you don't have the yeast fermenting and all that. I don't know the exact science behind it, but I know it's not easy. But I do love a good non-alcoholic beer, especially when you're driving, man. It's so nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool, especially because you hear so many actors who kind of just get caught in this spiral and how alcoholism, like Ben Affleck, I mean, kind of he spiraled and things like that. He struggles. And so it's cool that he kind of caught himself, especially being so young and aware
Such a
as
young
well.
age,
And
yeah.
he's such a big actor and like his work schedule and things like that. So it's pretty rad that he caught that. Now, Shrinking has been confirmed for season 3, which is the surprise to nobody. However, it was only planned to be a 3-season show. Oh God, season 2 is some of the best television. I swear, I cannot say it enough. Yeah, so
Oh, that's
Shrinking.
right. Cause the whole season's not out, right? You just got to watch the
No,
3. This
I've no,
poster's yours, by the
I've seen
way,
the whole season.
courtesy of Tom. I
Oh,
have
thanks,
s I have
Tom.
so much stuff from you from MegaCon, and none of it's from me. It's all
I
his.
That's awesome. See, if it makes you feel loved. But yeah, no, I've seen the whole season already, but it's not all out. 3 episodes are out. That's
Oh
it.
my god!
I have seen the whole
And it
season.
was better than 1?
Oh my god, this it was some of the best television I have ever watched. It's so just the characters, man. It's just the way they interact and the writing and just the real emotions, and you get really lost because it's like, oh, you lose yourself in just the problems they're having because they feel so real. And the way they don't do your stereotypical like show where they just keep putting off. No, they face things like head on, and not
Mm.
everybody's perfect, and
Like in
that's the
Ted
other thing.
Lasso.
Exactly. And well, I mean, Brett Goldstein did write
Yeah.
Shrinking. And so I think the other really big thing is like every character is flawed. Harrison Ford has flaws. Jason Segel has flaws. I mean, every character on this show is going through something different, and it's how they help and interact with each other and the things that they're just going through. It's this season really just struck a chord with me, and I think it's probably one of my favorite seasons of television that I've ever watched. I can say that with a very fact.
When I showed Josh the poster, he was like, "Oh, what show is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the show I would put on when you fell asleep during Ted Lasso." I forgot he didn't watch it with me. So he's gonna watch season 1 and then we're gonna watch 2 together.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah, perfect. But there's another show coming out soon. A little bit of Hell's Kitchen action.
yes, I think we all kinda knew this was coming out in March, but now we officially have a date for Daredevil Born Again. It will be on Disney Plus March 4th, 2025. It will be 9 episodes. A lot of people are complaining. I thought it was 18. Supposedly, maybe it looks like they're splitting this season. I don't know, but I saw the trailer. The trailer's online. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. I got so excited. I got emotional for that trailer. It looks like the Netflix show. It's like seeing like your old friends back together again and
Yeah.
you're like, "Yes, we're going to do this again." It's like a reunion. So,
And
very excited for
it's
that.
TV mature apparently too. So it's going to be pretty gruesome at times and
As
badass. I
it
can't wait.
should.
Yeah.
Bash
Going
more
on from
people's
that,
heads in with bowling balls.
that's true. Dune Prophecy will be on HBO November 17th. I'll check it out. I'm not really like big into the Dune franchise, but I am into Creature Commandos, which is going to be on HBO December 5th. James Gunn's animated DC television show, of course, and I'm pretty excited for that one. Cannot wait for that.
I am too. But every time I
But
hear Creature Commandos, I start singing
the trailer looks
Creature
really
Report."
cool. They did release a trailer, and the trailer looks pretty
I
rad. So
haven't
I'm
watched it. I
excited.
need to watch that.
It does look pretty exciting. But you do have some more Daredevil news.
A new Daredevil comic is coming out too by Charles Soule and Steve McNiven, and that will be out in April. It looks really good. It is called Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. And it was
Ooh, what
announced in
is?
the same panel as Daredevil Born Again. I don't know will there be any connections. I don't know. We'll see.
That's
Be
interesting. That
pretty
is pretty
cool if
cool.
there
They
was.
just
Yeah.
hijacked it all. What is this Ghost Machine Soulless you talk about?
So have you heard of Soulless from Ghost Machine?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. So at the Ghost Machine panel in New York, they mentioned that comic, and then I was like, "Well, that an announcement?" Because I hadn't heard that. So that's going to be a new one of their comics, and it sounds like it
Ooh,
will be added to the Hyde Street collection because you know how they're
ooh.
doing it is they have these different worlds, which obviously we've raved about Ghost Machine many times on this show. So that's going to be a new one. Yeah, I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited for everything they're doing. They're just doing such a good job.
They really are. Truly, Ghost Machine is top of the business right now, doing some really good stuff. This one's for you. Invincible season 3 comes out February 6th, Super Bowl
Woohoo!
week. So this is your Super Bowl with
Oh
Invincible
shit,
season
that
3.
comes out like during MegaCon. Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
right.
right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, it
MegaCon's that
does.
weekend.
It does. And Mayfair Witches season 2 will be out January 5th, 2025 on AMC. And then a couple more things. Dead City season 2 will be out spring of 2025, and the Daryl Dixon season 3 has already begun to film. Interesting. A lot of TV
In
news this week.
España.
Ooh, that's right. But let's go on to talk about Stephen King's film Carrie. Not my wife, but the film Carrie. Not my wife. Starring Sissy Spacek, and I always forget that John
Spacek.
Travolta is in this movie. So we will be right back to talk about this film in just a moment. Welcome back. Like I said, get on your prom tux, get on your corsage, and leave the bullying at home. Trust me, you're not going to want to
Leave the
do any of
pig's
that
blood at the
nonsense.
farm.
Yeah, and let's talk about Stephen King's Carrie. Now, this was originally based on the Stephen King book. It stars Sissy Spacek, I can never pronounce anybody's name correctly, and John Travolta. In the 1976 movie, we start with a girl who is raised in a very, very religious household, gets her first period in the showers of the high school locker room. She thinks she's dying, all while the girls mock her, which, okay, I forgot that scene.
I did not know that. I've never seen this, and I read the book this weekend too. And so, like, the book goes into detail, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Like, that's pretty fucked up, man. Like, you're a girl. Why would you, like, I'm a little confused why they would just act that way, you know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely extreme. And you have the Mean Girls, and one of the things they mentioned in the book, and they mentioned in the new movie. I had the new movie on this afternoon, like in the background, but I don't think they did in the 1976 version where they mentioned like Carrie would always tell everybody that everybody except her and her mom were going to hell. And so it was kind of one of those, like, the one girl's like, whatever, she's had this coming. Like, she's always telling us we're bad people and we're going to hell. But yeah, apparently I stopped writing the description of the movie and started watching the movie. But yeah, so after they mock her, obviously she gets, really sad, but she has these telekinetic powers. She starts to kind of research them, but the mom is just completely mentally ill
Oh, yeah.
and is raising her like she's the devil. And Then the one girl actually feels bad. She feels remorseful. And this was odd, but she thinks that the way to have her get into a clique is to have her boyfriend take Carrie to the prom. That whole concept is crazy and bizarre. And then he actually does it. She looks beautiful at the prom. She's having a great time. He's actually thinking like, "Oh wow, I'm actually enjoying this girl." And even in the book, it's like she was beautiful. She did look beautiful. Like he thought she looked beautiful. And then the extra mean girl and her boyfriend, who's John Travolta, go and murder a pig to get a bucket of pig's blood to pour all over her. When that happens, her telekinesis goes absolutely berserk. She kills a bunch of people in there. And then the poor guy that was her date got hit in the head with the bucket and dies instantly. That
Wait,
happens in the book in both movies.
oh, I didn't realize he was dead from the bucket.
Yeah, he's dead from the bucket.
That must have been one hell of a
They make it more
bucket.
in
Oh
the I mean, if it hits you in the head just right, I guess.
my.
But they make it more clear in the book and in the new movie. But yeah, in the older movie, it does seem a little like, "Doop." But like in the book, they're like, somebody call the ambulance. He's not breathing. And in the new movie, he falls and his eyes are like wide open. But then she goes full, I guess, Harry Carey on everybody.
Well,
Goes full
okay,
bloody
so
Carey.
like I very much there's a couple people I do feel bad for amongst this all. It's the boyfriend because he legitimately seemed to be like genuine.
A nice
I
dude.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he truly seemed to be genuine, and so him dying, like I didn't realize he died. I just figured he died from the fire that happens or something, you know. And then her teacher, who I understand why she dies, it's because she talked her into going to prom, so she kind of blames her for that. But like she was like the only decent person to her and looked out
Well,
for her and everything like that.
so in the book, she says that she sees the teacher, the coach, and she goes, even though she's looking at me, it seems like it's a forced sympathy and she doesn't really feel bad for me. And she's also laughing on the inside. So it's like Carrie is not mentally well either.
Well, I
But I
mean,
mean, her
yeah.
mental illness could be just from the years of
Her mom's
emotional and
her mom emotionally abuses
physical
the
abuse.
crap out of her, yeah, like, her mom's a psycho, talks
Yeah.
about, even so much as to be like, "I thought about giving you to Jesus, I saw your dad ran away, I thought I was giving you Jesus, all this craziness. The devil's in you just like it was in him," and then she actually ends up stabbing her daughter, and it's just like, "Whoa, jeez, dude, like, this lady's crazy."
Yeah. She stabs her in the book too, and she's like, yeah. So to go quickly into the differences with the book, and Stephen King said he liked the movie ending better. I think I like the book ending better because, like, in the movie, you see, like, the mom and the daughter both die together. They had stabbed each other, and then the house kind of basically falls into the pits of hell, is what it kind of looks like. I did like the jump scare at the end, though, with the hand, even though it was a dream. I thought
Mhm.
that was really cool. That got me good. That was probably the only moment that I thought was scary in the movie. In the book, she kills her mom and then she goes back out and Sue finds her, but she's like dying because her mom like stabbed her in the shoulder. And then Sue is kind of with her at the end. Like she genuinely still feels bad for her. And then another thing that the book did was the book goes back and forth from like a report that was done on the Carrie incident in the future. And then like Sue Snell wrote a book and it goes back and forth from like telling the story of Carrie, like it's present day, to these reports and these books and these news articles. And then at the end, which you see in the new Carrie movie from I think it was 2002 or something, you see Sue's in court at the end and they're still asking her questions. And that's for like the commission report because they're trying to figure out why this happened, how do you prevent this again? And it's genetic, but it's very rare for somebody to get telekinesis. Like you have to have two parents that have it. It's very rare for it to like connect. And they're like comparing it to hemophilia and talking about recessive and dominant traits and like how hemophilia used to be more common in like areas where inbreeding happened. So you would have either rednecks or
Oh.
royalty because that's why you're not supposed to do that because those recessive genes become dominant. But they were comparing it to that, so it was interesting how they did the science in it. And then, like, in the movie, we saw her go to the card catalog and find books about telekinesis, and then in the new one, she's obviously watching YouTube videos about people doing telekinesis. But so those are
Right,
some of the difference. You see
huh,
a lot less Bush in the new
that's
movie than the old one. I will tell you
I
that.
do the newer one, I do remember seeing that. I wanna say it was 2013, yeah, because Chloe Grace
2013, I
Moretz,
was way off. Okay, that
yeah,
makes more sense. I
is
think they did have iPhones.
and, so she's obviously in it. Julianne Moore plays her mom in that one, and then Gabriella Wilde plays Sue. Portia Doubleday plays, Chris, and, so there's not really anybody else I really know in this movie except for those big 2. But, Ansel Elgort plays Tommy. Ansel, I believe he was in a bunch of different films, for a period there, like West Side Story. He's the main character in the
Mm.
West Side Story that they made. So he and Baby Driver was another one that he was in. But this one, I don't remember the newer one so much. I remember it being more bloody, I want to say, and everything like that. But the old one, it holds up to me. I'm very interested to see because this was your first time seeing both movies and also reading the book. So I want to hear like your overall thoughts.
Well, I didn't think it was very horror-ish. I thought it was, kind of interesting. I do think so. Stephen King said he loved the first movie. He doesn't know why they made the second movie because the first one was so perfect, and he loved the ending in the movie. But I really think it would have been like if they were going to remake the movie, it would have been really cool if they did it more in like a kind of documentary standpoint where they built the suspense, I was gonna say suspension, like they're building a car, where they built the suspense of like having the people tell their story about how scared they were, because you get that in like the reports after that when people are talking to the cops as well. Like, and everybody was like, well, how did you know that it was Carrie? You just knew. And everybody's like, you just knew. So it's like she was
See, that was
able.
my question. Like, how did they know? I guess it was interesting because telekinesis isn't something I would think right away. She's just standing there when everything goes haywire. But I guess since she's so weird, I guess you can say, yeah, you just knew it was her.
Yeah, that's what they all just kept saying. And you do see that at the very end of the newer movie where they're like, well, how do you know? Oh, I just knew. Like they had a feeling of like dread, or they compared it to like when you have a dream and you wake up from the dream and you're like, I know something like this happened, but you can't remember that dream.
Right.
I think that's what I love about when you read these books, just like the comparisons that, a good writer like Stephen King can make where you're like, that makes complete sense. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I never in a million years would have like explained it like that or thought of it like that.
Right. I also like
But
getting in depth into like people's minds in books. That's like one of the fun things about reading is you get a lot more behind the scenes because obviously nobody's going to be inner monologuing in a movie, so they kind of have to
right,
do a
like they
little
do
bit
in
more.
comics.
Right, right. And so that's why I
Yeah,
like books is you get to that little bit more of explanation, which I wish we could have gotten a little bit more because it wasn't totally clear the intentions of like Tommy and them because it kind of seems like okay, they are just trying to like pull a prank, but they didn't have anything to do with the prank at all. They were coming from a genuine
right.
place, which if it's your first time
Yeah.
watching, you don't really understand that a whole lot. And then Carrie, you feel really bad for her, right? She's just ostracized, and it's crazy because yeah, that's I mean, it's very much not that telekinesis is real, but the bullying that happens today over things like and then now we have YouTube and camera phones. It would be very interesting to see like a modern take on this with phones being so
Well, they
prevalent because you
did
could.
that in the new one. They filmed her, and then when after the pig's blood is dumped on her, they start playing the video of her covered in blood in the bathroom on the screen at prom.
Oh,
So I
that's
feel
right.
like that too makes her go a little more. So that was the one thing, like, again, I was half paying attention to the new one, just, on in the background. But I was like, "Oh, that is good to build that more." But in the new one and in the book, they both have a scene where Sue and Tommy, like, having sex in a car or whatever, and in both of those, I think Sue's pregnant too. They end up knocking her
Oh.
up, but they don't make it relevant at all in either one, I don't think. I don't know. Anyways, he she's like, "I feel bad about what happened to Carrie," and he's like, "Well, have you apologized?" And she's like, "Well, did you apologize to the kid that you?" Because he's like, "Oh, I kicked this kid once, and it was unprovoked, but he was unconscious, but he was always mean to me." And she's like, "Well, did you apologize?" He's like, "No, but we're not in the sixth grade anymore." And so he was telling her like, "You should apologize to her, like you should talk to her."
Huh.
So and then you have the moment with, like, the poetry where he was like, he recognized that the teacher was being a dick, and that happens in both the movies.
Yeah. Oh my God. Can we talk about like in the 76 movie, the amount of slapping the teacher does to these kids? Like, first of all, wow, that's kind of
It's in
intense.
the
And then
book
like,
too, but I guess
then this,
that's what used to happen. You just smack the shit out of people.
yeah, I mean, I guess
"Get
you
it
did.
together!" I
Like, you're
can't
being an
imagine if
asshole.
I was freaking out about somebody and somebody slapped me across the face, I feel like I'd slap them back.
I mean, I totally would like start fighting because I don't like when people put hands on me. So like, if you hit me, my reaction would be hitting you back pretty much.
Right. I got slapped across the face once and I slapped my mom back and she said, "You better fucking run." And I ran. I was about 16. But
It
like,
is.
if that happened to me today, yeah, I can't even, like, okay, I'm snapped out of it, but now I'm violent.
Well, exactly. Like, I feel like it doesn't solve anything, and everybody was just awful. Everybody was just for the most part, not everybody, but I mean, for the most part. And then you can see why Carrie didn't trust the teacher because like everybody's so awful to her. So at that point, she just thinks everybody there is laughing at her because of she's got her mom in her head talking about how nobody actually cares about her, and she's got the voices and all that stuff, and just the emotions and being embarrassed. So I can perfectly see it. But let's go into some fun facts real quick before we kind of talk about the movie. So Carrie was Stephen King's first book. He was actually paid $2,500 for the rights to the movie, which was also the first of his books to be turned into a movie. Now, at this point, there have been over 100 different TV series and movies based on the books, one of which Mike Flanagan is turning into an 8-episode series for Amazon Prime. And they also misspelled his name in the trailer. He's Steven with the PH, and they used a V. Now, for the
Those
casting
bastards.
for Carrie, was done with the casting for Star Wars. As Brian De Palma and George Lucas were friends, they were casting at the same time. Sue was in the running for Princess Leia, and Carrie Fisher was in the running, to play Carrie. She didn't get Leia. She did end up marrying Steven Spielberg and having a child with him.
So she didn't get Leia, but she got laid. No, she's actually in Carrie too. So Carrie 2 started playing. I watched like the first 10 minutes. Dude,
Oh,
there are so many people in Carrie 2. The girl that stiff no, shipbreaks in it. The girl who sleeps with Chris Klein from in American Pie is in it. The oldest kid from Home Improvement is in it. Like, there were so many recognizable people.
You're
But
talking
I
about
was
the
like, "Hey,
Carrie
that
from
one lady looks familiar."
2013?
No, from 1999. The
There's
Rage,
a
Carrie
Carrie
2.
too? Oh,
Yes, I watched the first 10 minutes.
I have blocked this movie out from memory. I now recall seeing this. You're right.
So many
Jason
late
London's
90s
in it.
actors that
Yeah.
Yes, Jason London's in it, yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
completely right. I completely blocked this from memory. I don't know how that happened. You're right. Yeah. Eddie K. Thomas is Arnie. Yeah, he's a shipbreak from wow. I forgot all about this movie. That's crazy. Huh.
I have a new movie to
Same
fall asleep to tonight.
oh, 4.8 out of 10. Can't say it's a good movie, but what is
Again, I got 10 minutes in.
what are some of the other fun facts you got for us?
So you actually mentioned this recently that we should do a whole episode on big stars that got their start in horror movies, and here's another
Yeah.
one. John Travolta. This is his first movie. There were book scenes that didn't make it into the movie solely for budget reasons. So I do wonder what those scenes were and if they would have helped the movie. When Sissy Spacek was getting ready for the role of Carrie, she stayed away from the rest of the cast and she actually decorated her dressing room with a bunch of religious stuff. And she studied the Bible and she studied body language of people who had been stoned for their sins. So for every scene, she would either start or end in one of those positions of somebody who had been, injured for their religious beliefs, kind of thing.
That's pretty cool. That's like method acting before method acting was ever a thing. That's pretty she really took this here. That's good on her, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she did a good job. I mean, for the time, we look at older movies and we're like, this acting is not great, but like she did a great job. Yeah.
She definitely did.
So the actress who played Chris, who's the main mean girl, she didn't actually realize her character was supposed to be super evil. She thought that her and John Travolta were more comedy relief. So she clearly did
Um
not read the book in
Did she
preparation
get
for the
that from the whole
movie.
blowjob scene where she's clearly talking while apparently giving him a blowjob? So it's like,
I
wait,
was
which one?
thinking the same
She's like
thing.
rubbing his chest. She's like, Billy, Billy. It's like, now wait, are you going down on him or are you like talking? Like, I'm a
And then
little
she's like, I
confused.
hate Carrie.
Yeah. And he's like, who's
That was
Carrie? Could you
terrible.
like that whole like the whole sequence? He's like, you're fucking crazy. And then she's like, oh, Billy. And it's like, wait, how something isn't adding up here. And then to be like, I hate Carrie. It's like, wait a second. I have a friend who actually was getting a blowjob once from somebody, and she was drunk, and so she ended up throwing up all over him. I did, like while going down on him, she threw up all over, which is hilarious to me. It didn't happen to me, but that's
Oh my gosh.
oh, oh, that just
My
talk about like
earbud just completely fell out of my ears thanks to that
my
story.
my religious virgin ears. Ah, oh my god.
That's disgusting. Ugh. Okay.
Well,
So where were we?
the actress who played
Uh,
Sue had her real life mother play her mother, and near the end of the movie, Sue's yell was so terrifying that her mom yelled Amy, which is her real name, instead of Sue. Fortunately, it was loud enough that you could not hear her calling out her daughter's actual name. In the book, the kids go to Ewan High School. However, in the movie, it's Bates High School, which is a nod to Norman Bates from Psycho. The book
but
and
then it's
movie
you in
end.
high school in the new movie again.
They change it back. They didn't like Norman Bates, apparently. Interesting.
I guess not.
Well, the book and the movie end very differently. Stephen King says he actually liked the movie better, which is not the first time he said that because, or it won't be the last time. The Mist, he says that the movie ending for The Mist was way better than his book ending. Now, if you remember The Mist, uh, Thomas Jane, I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Jane. Yeah, it is. They're
Punisher.
driving. It's yeah, his kid, the girl, the love interest or whatever, even though his wife has been missing for like 72
Laurie
hours.
Holden.
Yeah, and then the two old people, he basically shoots them all in the head and goes to kill himself, and the gun's out of bullets. And then right after that, the army comes clearing, the fog disappears, and now he just killed his son and all these people, and now he's left with that. So
Well, the
that's
book
one of the
doesn't really end.
right.
Like it's kind of like left open, which honestly I liked it better than the movie because the movie ending I freaking hated.
Yeah, the
Like
movie.
you
Well,
just
the
shot
movie
your
ending,
son in the head. Like just go ahead
especially
and
as a
kill yourself,
parent,
even though
like
it's safe now. Just kill yourself. You're done.
I would go up
Sounds
to one of
terrible.
the
I'm not
army
actually
members.
advocating suicide.
I mean, I'm advocating suicide in that case. You should die. You just killed your kid, dude. You couldn't have
You don't
waited.
recover from that. You're right.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
don't
You
know.
guys aren't even gonna try, you're just gonna give up.
That's what I'm saying. They just gave up so easily. There was no monsters in the immediate area. You could at least just sit there for a little bit, and then when things start to maybe get a little scary, then that's when you do whatever you got to do, right?
Right. It's like the first Walking Dead episode, they all just kill themselves so they don't get eaten by walkers. The end.
That's my thing. It's like I
Whatever.
would
Okay.
like to think that I wouldn't want to live. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, you already talked about how Stephen King didn't understand why that they made a 2013 version because he thought the first one was perfect. So what else do we have? We got a lot of fun facts for this movie actually.
So Piper Laurie, who played Margaret White, which is Carrie's mom, she actually thought that the film was more of like a dark comedy instead of a horror film. And she thought her character was so over the top that she couldn't actually take it seriously. And she kept breaking out in laughter between takes. And she also thought her wardrobe and her dialogue was absolutely hilarious. The film's director, who we mentioned before, Brian De Palma, had to pull her aside at one point and tell her, "Look, this is a horror film. Like, keep it together, woman." He probably slapped her and was like, "Get it
He
together."
probably did. He was like, bam.
Yeah, apparently she still considers it a dark comedy.
Hilarious.
I mean, she is out of control. I feel like Julianne Moore did a better job of portraying like a religious, mentally ill nut.
I would agree. She definitely got a little more serious with the role for sure.
So the prom scene in the OG movie took 35 takes and about over 2 weeks to shoot.
It really doesn't even go on that
So,
long either, which is crazy.
well, I guess it's the whole prom scene. So it's probably the dancing and all the blood too. But also, I mean, like back then, you really had to act out the special effects. I can't imagine
That's
much was
true.
able to be done in post production.
I just was
So
thinking because
this next fun fact. By the time what?
by the time we get to prom, it's 30 minutes left in the film. By the time she kills everybody, it's like 15 minutes left in the film. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is
Yeah,
close to the end.
interesting.
So the spinning camera scene, like, that made me dizzy, and I feel like that was getting
Yeah, I
out of
hated
control.
that.
Braille's like, "Why are they going so fast?" I'm like, "I don't know, I'm getting dizzy."
It
So
hurts.
during that, Carrie and Tommy, it was a spinning camera, and they achieved it by the couple spinning one direction and the camera dolly going the opposite direction. They killed that moment, that was not
They didn't need to
necessary.
go as long as they had on that spinning moment at all.
No. So you wanna take
So
the next one? We're at PJ Souls.
yes, PJ Souls was originally cast for only 2 weeks of filming. However, when she hit Carrie with her red baseball cap, Brian De Palma was impressed, and then he decided to keep her on a little bit longer.
Okay,
She,
can we talk about the red baseball cap?
what do you want to talk about it?
Why is she wearing that in every scene of the movie, including at prom?
She was. She really was. She didn't change at all. I don't know.
Like, they're making fun of Carrie because she got her period in the shower and thought she was dying because her mom didn't educate her on the human reproductive system, but we're not making fun of the girl who wears a baseball hat, the same baseball hat, to every single thing every day, no matter what she's wearing, including a prom dress. There's your
She's
target,
laughing at
kids.
everybody else, and it's like, well, we should be laughing at this idiot over here.
She had it on at prom.
She did. She
Okay.
did. I don't know.
Unless it's
Now,
Miss Collins. I thought it said Misha Collins. I got excited.
because he couldn't get the right reaction from Nancy Allen when Chris got slapped by Miss Collins, Brian asked Betty to really slap Nancy. Nancy ended up getting slapped about 30 times to get the right reaction. Maybe she was a little
She
into it at that point.
How red was her cheek?
That's
That's
what I'm
terrible.
wondering. Like, God, I don't want to get slapped. Sue Snell, we already talked about that. We already talked about this. So going down a little bit more to get a better chance of landing the role, Sissy showed up at her screen test with Vaseline in her unwashed hair and a sailor dress her mother made for her with the hem cut off. All right, get a little crazy with it. Interesting.
I think I read that too, and it was like an older one. Like it was from when she was younger, so it didn't fit right.
Oh, and to add on to Margaret's insanity, none of the Bible references she mentions are actually real. When she quotes Genesis chapter 3, she declares how it says sexuality is evil. In reality, the quote is about Adam and Eve eating the forbidden fruit.
Well, maybe they were eating peaches
Maybe.
or
Yeah.
eggplant. Is eggplant a fruit? Probably a vegetable. I never know.
I don't know. I don't eat
Every
eggplant, so
Eggplant's pretty good. Eggplant parmesan.
I have eggplant parmesan, but I'm not an eggplant person. Peaches, I get down with peaches, but eggplant, I don't know.
Are we talking food or no?
I was talking food, you
Oh,
sickos out
okay,
there.
okay.
You weird people out there. All right.
So I think we've actually gone through a lot of these. So Amy Irving was originally supposed to play Carrie. However, Jack Fisk convinced Brian De Palma to let Sissy Spacek audition. After giving Sissy the role, he gave Amy the role of Sue Snell. So poor
Yes.
Amy. First, she was supposed to get Leia, and then she was supposed to get Carrie, and she ends up with Sue Snell, and then has to marry Steven Spielberg. I'm sure she made it out all right, even though they ended up
Yeah,
divorced.
I mean, still, you're married to Steven Spielberg. You have a kid. She's at least getting some money in the long run.
So Stephen King actually gave Amy Irving a ring that she wears throughout the film. Well, that's
Hmm.
interesting.
Interesting.
Oh, I did see this. So this is how Spielberg met his wife was because Brian De Palma was like, "Hey, you should stop by set. There's a lot of hot chicks on set." I'm sure he didn't say it like that, but there was a lot of bush in that movie. The second the movie starts, it's just naked people. And
It
Josh is
really
like, "Isn't
was.
this?" But he's like, "Isn't this supposed to be high school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm sure they're all over 18. I hope."
Right. Hopefully.
So Carrie was based loosely on two girls Stephen King knew in school. One of the girls was a kind of peculiar person from a kind of weird family. And instead of it being like religious crazy like Margaret, though, this girl, her mom was obsessed with game and sweepstakes stuff. Do you remember like the Publishers Clearinghouse where
Oh,
you'd like
yeah.
send it in?
Oh, yeah.
So Stephen remembered that the poor girl only had one change of clothes for the whole school year, and she was regularly made fun of by other kids. Oh, that's sad.
Jeez, that's tough. While the film was played in theaters, Sissy Spacek loved to show up in the last 5 minutes to see the audience reactions to the final scare. I wonder if she was watching when Lauren jumped. There was
Maybe.
a deleted scene that showed Carrie as a little girl talking to her next door neighbor, who was sunbathing in the backyard. Margaret catches her and drags Carrie back into the house, which causes Carrie to make stones fall from the sky onto the house. This would have tied in with the film's ending. However, the scene was cut because the stones didn't have the right effect. Hmm.
So that's a
Now,
scene straight out of the book.
oh, interesting. I didn't know that was right out of the book. That's pretty cool. So that's there you go. There's one of your deleted scenes.
Yeah, there you go. Mystery
Stephen King
solved.
has admitted that he thought that we already talked about that. During Norma's death scene, the water pressure from the hose actually burst PJ's eardrums. The shot we see of PJ rolling her head to the side was due to her losing her ability to maintain equilibrium. The shot looks like Norma was just unconscious, so Brian De Palma kept the final shot in the film. Though her eardrum eventually healed, she could not hear a thing in that ear for 6 months. Could you imagine that? That's crazy.
That is crazy. That's like when we did the fun facts on Twister, how like they had like hearing loss for a while.
Yeah, just absolutely crazy. And my last little bit, and I'll let you take back over, is for the final jump scare. Sissy insisted on being the one to grab Sue's arm from underground and not a stunt double. Brian tried to tell her that they would have to actually bury her for the scene, and he tried to convince her to just let him use a stunt double. However, she kept pushing for it, saying, "Brian, I have to do this." Hmm. All right, she got
I
little
don't.
issues,
That's
but I don't want to be buried alive.
yeah.
Please don't.
Fuck no. Yeah, and then she's got to reach out. Oh, I wonder how they set all that up. That sounds
Yeah,
terrible.
right?
So the fake blood that Sissy had to wear kept drying under the hot lights, and it was sticking to her. That sounds terrible. And
Yeah, it does.
so because of that, she had to be hosed down every time the blood got gluey. Gross.
I mean, a
So
good
for the
thing they
death
had the
scene
fire
from
hose there.
yeah, right. So for the death scene for Miss Collins, the backboard that crushes her wasn't tested beforehand to make sure it didn't actually hit her or hit the
Oh.
actress. So for that reason, the actress had a terrified expression that was genuine before she died.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty fair. Why would you not test it? Because I feel like that's how people die on movie sets. I
Yeah,
don't know.
right. So to make Sue's nightmare a little bit more surreal and give it some of that eerie effect, the beginning of it was actually shot backwards, and then they do the reverse and the slow motion thing. So
Hmm.
you can see this by the car, how it nearly hits.
Dude, it's
So Sue's
such a
actually
bad
driving
scene.
backwards.
It's so like bad because it's that weird, like sped up, obviously. It's just ridiculous looking.
So this next one is actually a little bit of an urban legend. So it said to keep with the film's continuity, Sissy would sometimes refuse to wash the fake blood off of her, and she would even like sleep in the bloody clothes. So I actually read that fun fact and I was like, this sounds far fetched. So I Googled it, and I guess it's only like partially true that she wasn't actually like sleeping in these bloody
Thank
clothes.
God.
Yeah. Oh, in the book, The Gym Teachers, her fate was a little bit different. She actually did laugh at Carrie after the pig's blood is dropped on her, but she says like in the thing, like she didn't mean to laugh, like it just happened. It was like these people had no control over what they were doing in that moment. But she does survive the massacre, but then she is shamed for laughing and it causes her to resign. So at the end of the book, you actually see like I would rather she sends in her letter of resignation and she actually says like I'd rather kill myself than be a teacher again for what I did. Like she feels like terrible, terrible shame for it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Ooh, this last one's cool. Margaret's death scene was another scene that was shot in reverse. To achieve the look of flying knives stabbing her, the knives started out attached to her and then were pulled out with strings. Then they played the scene backward to make it look like they were flying towards her. Again, that's a scene that to me was just great because it's very like religious looking the way she's just strung up
Mm, oh
in the
yeah.
kitchen there. And for a movie that's all about religion, I thought that was a really cool just sequence there. And then when she's like collapsing the house, she's pulling her mom, and then she's like yanking her mom's hand still stuck to the wall, the knife, and she's like yanking it off. I'm like, oh my god, I know she's dead, but Jesus Christ.
Well, and then she must be super strong the way she carries her like she's nothing.
Yeah,
But
she
then
really does.
you see in the movie, she carries her like her mom like she's nothing too after she kills her. But it's like when Nebula carries Chris Pratt kind of thing. So it must have been like a dummy, or they must have done
Mm,
something. But I
you're
felt like
right.
that was more her telekinesis was holding her up.
That's kind of
So
what I was
I
thinking
don't
at
know.
that point. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, overall thoughts on the movie. What would you kind of rate this movie? Because I think it holds up the 76 version. I know we mainly talked about that one. I don't remember the second movie. And then, Carrie 2013 is kind of a remake. I didn't mind that one. But I'm a purist on this one. I really thought the original film was I'm with Steven. I mean, the movie's damn near perfect. Now, I do wish some things had changed, right? Things are a little bit weird, outdated. Um, that whole weird shower sequence where she's like rubbing her body, obviously cleaning it, that was kind of weird to watch.
It was very
Uh,
weird. I feel like that was put in there because it was a man directing it. I feel like that was so was all the naked women, completely unnecessary. I have been in many a locker room, and for one, in high school and middle school, nobody's fucking showering. And if you go to a gym at like LA Fitness, the only women you're gonna see completely naked are gonna be about
Old women.
75. Yeah.
It's just like men's gyms. It's just the old, saggy, gross men standing there with their balls hanging out, and it's
Right.
like, ugh.
Everybody else is either not changing there or they're doing it a little more modestly. It could be because they're the only ones that use the swimming pool, maybe. So
That
they're
and they
like
just don't
water
care because 'cause they're on death's doorstep
aerobics.
anyways. I don't know.
Yeah. You get to see boobies at the knees.
Ew. Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie, I thought. I don't understand, like, making fun of somebody for having their period for the first time, even if they think they're gonna die. I would be like, "Oh my god, that's kinda more concerning." Like, you think she's weird? Like, does nobody know her mom? Because clearly the mom
Right.
went to that one girl's house talking about Jesus, so her mom's, like, this crazy nutcase. Did nobody stop to think that, like, "Hey, maybe her mom's the reason this is
Or
happening?"
called DCF.
Like anything, you know what I'm saying? I get it was the '70s, but like, dude, her mom clearly was jacked up. The town had to have known it. Nobody bothered. Instead, we're gonna make fun of the girl who I don't know. That again, school shooters. That's
And
how that
then
shit
they
happens.
clap yeah, right? And then they clapped for like 20 minutes when she got crowned prom queen.
Yeah,
I'm like,
everybody
"Oh
was
my
so
god, they're
happy for her. Like,
still
oh my god.
clapping."
It's every time there's a movie that premieres at a film festival, it's like there was an 11-minute standing ovation. That's what she got.
That's what
Everybody,
this felt
they got a
like.
close up of everybody's face while they were clapping for this movie.
Maybe that's why it took 2 weeks because they had to film everybody's face for an hour while they clapped.
Everybody clapping.
That was
But what
crazy.
what are your overall thoughts on the movie and the book?
I mean, I didn't love either one. I thought they were both good. I would love to see a more direct adaptation of the book, and I know that always sounds holier than thou, but I really thought the like interview perspective and the going back and
It's
forth from
interesting, yeah.
present to past. Yeah, I felt like it would create more suspense. I felt like not enough suspense was created here. Also, in the book, after Carrie gets the blood dumped on her and she goes full like evil, she's laughing. And whereas in the movie, I don't feel like she's laughing as much. I feel like there's still somewhat of an
She
innocence
stayed
quality to
very
her.
same stoic face, yeah.
Yeah, that makes her seem more innocent rather than a villain, which I feel like makes it seem less scary. It just seems more sad than scary.
Yeah, the whole
But I
movie,
mean, you got to take it for a movie of its time too.
it never felt like a horror movie just because, like, the actual killing happens in the last 15 minutes of the movie, and there was no, like, suspenseful kind of whatever, like, I almost feel like maybe they should have had her using her telekinesis to kind of fuck with some of the girls, maybe, like, building suspense that way. I like the whole documentary flashback sequence like you're talking about. That would've been cool to see. So, hopefully, maybe if somebody remakes this movie at some point, because movies are gonna get remade a million times before we die, I would like to see something like that, or maybe they do their own fresh take kinda on the Carrie bit, or maybe Mike
Yeah.
Flanagan. I'm anxious to see if since he's doing the 8-episode, miniseries, like, that would be cool.
I
Maybe he takes
think
something
it's
like that.
just
He's
Salem
really
Plus.
good, yeah.
Because this is I mean, if anybody wants to I mean, I just ruined it, so I don't know if anybody wants to read it now, but it's a very short book, and it's only 300 pages, but it's, like, bigger font.
Yeah.
So it's like I mean, I read almost all of it on the plane on the way home from New York. So, but yeah, I think Mike Flanagan needs to do, Salem's Lot. But that would be cool, like how he did Edgar Allan Poe last time, and it was like each
Hmm.
episode was like almost like a different, different knots, different stories. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He had like
I
one
th-
that was similar to Carrie, and he could tie it together. Oh, come on, let's do that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be
I like him. I think he's adapted some other Stephen King things, so I have trust him to do the right thing. So I'm pretty
Oh
excited to see
yeah.
what happens. Pretty
I
excited.
think when we were talking about all his Netflix stuff,
Hmm.
the one that's not super popular was based on a Stephen
Hmm.
King book. So how funny was it though when they're like the teacher's just smoking, like the
Yeah,
principal's just like they're just
just right
smoking.
there in the office and everything. It's like, all right,
Can
product of
you
the times.
imagine if, like, you go to the principal's office to talk to them and they're friggin' smoking a
Well,
cigarette? I
now
can't
they're
even
vaping.
fathom. Yeah.
Yeah, you go in there, they're hitting the vape and the jewel and everything like that.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, this movie, solid movie. I liked it. Could have been better. We have some things we talked about, but that ends our Halloween extravaganza. We will be back this
How I
week.
don't understand how that happened. We even
I
started
don't know.
early. What
We
the
did.
fuck?
We'll be back on Cantina Hour. Agatha's gonna be wrapping up soon. Penguin's gonna be wrapping up soon. We're gonna talk about Lauren's New York City Comic Con trip. My recent trip down to Orlando, where we went to the Packers game because I tricked these fools into going to a Packers game with me. We went to Disney. We did a lot
Go
of fun
Jags.
stuff. No doubt about it. Assuming I'm alive. If not, we're just Lauren's gonna be there live. It's gonna be eulogy, and I'm just laying there dead with a bunch of cans surrounding my body. But or I
Dearly
died because the
beloved.
Packers
We
blew the
know
game
that's
and
what
I
you're
just
gonna
drowned
carry.
myself in cheese. But yeah, thank you everybody for hanging out.
Yeah, that's a fun way to go out. Cheese.
I would do it. Support the show. Patreon.com/Hopsgeek News is how you can support the show. We are doing movie nights and things like that. I even think I just went ahead and was like, you know what, screw it. We're gonna have our own little Halloween party the night before Halloween. I don't expect Lauren to go because it's gonna be like 10 o'clock at night. We're gonna watch Midsummer, dress up, drink beers. I
What?
gave in
Who's
because
doing this?
I
Midsummer? I was
I invited our
traumatized once.
Discord. I invited our Discord because
For
I was like, all right,
Midsummer?
DT,
I thought
let's see,
DT was the only one that
let's
liked
see.
it.
Everybody else but us pretty much likes it. So I'm like, all right, let's see if I'm trying to see if like, am I in the wrong on this movie and revisit it, and we're gonna throw like a little
No.
pre-Halloween party. So we'll see, we'll see. But other than that, man, I mean, just join our Discord, all that stuff. If you want the Discord, hit us up. And until next time, everybody, thanks for hanging out. Don't be a dick. Rule one: if we can learn anything from Carrie, is don't be a dick. You never know who you're messing with.